this is Musical GG back with another episode of Storytime with MGG. This story has to do with Motivation Coaster 2.5, but before I go into that, please do bear in mind that the past video did have screenshots, but this one won't have screenshots, so do not worry. You can put this behind whatever you're doing, so you can just simply listen. I realized I forgot to mention that in the first episode about Storytime, that you don't have to watch the footage. I just put the footage because, who knows, people might have an interest in watching, but at the same time, I understand you really don't need to see anything. I legitimately, put TNT Run there because I know other games, like, I can't do, and I know that you will get distracted by maybe the gameplay that is shown. So, TNT Run in and of itself is not, like, something that people watch all the flipping time, but if you do, I mean, good for you. I also want to establish one other thing, that I have been, repetitive in the past other videos that have to do with staff. Bear in mind that whatever I'm going to say will not disclose any names of any kind. Second of all, please do bear in mind that whatever has happened in the past. That was way back in 2015. This one has to do with 2015. Additionally, I want you to understand that if you are a staff member, please do not take offense as to what I'm going to bring up. Please understand that whatever I share are stories of my own and not something that will represent the staff team. So whatever has happened, please do not let that dissuade you from joining the team. And no, this was not rehearsed or read off of or anything. I just, when I get repetitive, I just kind of get used to saying it. It's like the same deal whenever it comes to being a staff member. I never use macros. I would only ever answer questions, and it just seems so repetitive because I've always said whatever I've said. And like that on TeamSpeak too at times whenever I was a helper. Like when people would be breaking the rules, I would tell them what's what, and they're like, "Are you reading off of a Bible?" And I'm like, "No, it's how I am." So yeah. With that put aside, thanks again, by the way, for all the support and everything. Let's just get right into it. So, Motivation Coaster 2.5. Why 2.5? Well, this is a continuation of 2, and it all occurred in the same year around the same time, which is 2015. There were just extra details that I didn't go over because then the video would have been longer. This topic will cover summer of 2015 and give you an idea of why I hate summers. So I won't go into the situations that occurred in the staff team because this was more on the community instead. But some staff members weren't making this easier for me. There was a buttload of things happening, but I'll go over the things that I remember well enough. So let's go jump back in time to July of 2015 when I met this guy. You guys know well of my intent and what pushed me from continuing my tasks as helper, which was being a shoulder for people to cry on because I cared a lot for people. I encountered this person in Skywars lobby and he asked how I was. I said I was well and I asked him back, to which he responded that he was sad. I tried cheering him up despite him not explaining why he was feeling that way, but he did explain how he didn't want to live, how he thought he was ugly, how his parents were hating him and everything. And the other issue was language barrier. He was from France. He primarily spoke French, but tried to converse in English using a translator of some kind. I asked him if he tried seeking for help, and he said he did try, but it wasn't helping him. I distracted him by creating a party, bringing him to games, and trying to cheer him up with my silliness. One time he showed up on TeamSpeak just to hear me sing, and he asked if I could sing to him alone. But I was hesitant because I don't do these things alone, especially not with someone I didn't know so well. Prior to this karaoke event, by the way, he was explaining how he had PTSD from being raped by an older woman, so I tried to deter the topic and brought up karaoke so that he could listen to others and distract him, which it did, but not in the way I had hoped. I was also silly in this karaoke event because it was a staff event, and I was singing Human by Christina Perri, but putting a twist where it was I'm Only Pony, which is a joke within the staff team. People will call me Musical Pony Girl or Musical Pony GG because of a moderator who had started it. And despite my silliness, this still had him wanting to hear me sing anyway. I didn't want to, but this guy seemed damaged and broken. He even sounded like it if you heard him speak vocally. I could hear he was nervous and shy. It was nothing intentional. It was just how he was. I couldn't be rude to him and I couldn't push him away. I tried to make sure he felt comfortable and I wanted to make sure he was alright. Except, I forget that when people are very vulnerable, they do get all emotional and feel you. I forget that he's not used to someone caring for him or about him, so when someone did, he was beginning to develop a crush or feelings. It was unusual to me because we barely knew each other. We hadn't talked to one another for so long for these feelings to even rise. Plus, I was naive on the concept of feelings, so I couldn't believe it. He tried to ask if we could be together at one point, and I said I can't. He was starting to feel very down and hurt. He muted himself at first, then he unmuted, so that I heard him cry while he tried to talk to me, but he muted himself again because he just couldn't talk. I tried to calm him down. I tried to tell him that we can still be friends, But he just wouldn't listen. He was feeling suicidal, talking about how he would kill himself since he couldn't have me. He spoke of how he didn't want to imagine someone else with me. I tried to tell him that he still has me around as a friend, but he wouldn't listen. This wasn't the first time he spoke of wanting to die, but this was the worst. I tried to contact an administrator, afraid that he'd actually do it. But instead of helping me, the administrator looked into the guy and found his Instagram, then told me he doesn't look like the age he said he was. I already knew how this guy looked. I already knew since he showed a picture of himself and he showed me his Instagram and whatever. He wanted to feel comfortable with himself, and he said he was ugly, so I was like, yeah, you're not really that ugly. I did not say, oh my gosh, you're so attractive, or oh my gosh, you're so cute. No, I just said, you're not ugly. So, what else was I gonna say? So, I didn't see it as anything other than just him trying to feel comfortable in his skin. So I was like, yeah, you're not ugly. I don't know where'd you got that from. So then, what the admin said instead was block him. And I felt helpless. I couldn't do anything to help this person. I didn't have anyone who could help me. So I steeled myself and messaged this guy that he needs to respect my decision, that I follow a religion that forbids this, and I told him the religion that I followed, and that my parents don't permit this, and that if he doesn't stop, then I'll have to block him, because I don't want to be the reason for someone's death. And I asked if he'd prefer I block him and never be able to talk to me again, since I'm causing so much pain to him. I was hurt though. I didn't like hearing that someone was getting suicidal because I didn't reciprocate his feelings, but I also felt really guilty because I was saying these things just so that he can get the message that I can't date, I won't date, and that this isn't right, not for me. He started to panic and said he won't kill himself, and I said I don't believe him. He said he swears on the holy book of the religion that I followed that he won't do this and that he will be friends and only friends. He explained how he had multiple personality disorder and all, explaining how he does feel this way sometimes. Another friend of mine explained that his sister had this disorder, and it did sound like her, how people with this disorder would say that they want to kill themselves but oftentimes do not. Of course, that's not the only symptom, but it was one that gave an idea that this guy wasn't making this stuff up. I calmed down and I thanked him for understanding, but internally I felt bad that I had to do this to him. I started to distance myself from him, and he did the same from me. This happened in a span of a week or so, by the way. Then came August, and August. Another community-based issue happened when I was suddenly messaged while I was playing with my friend group at the time. I will try to give a summary of the story since a lot has happened in this month. Basically, this guy was from Why I Became Staff, the same guy who picked on my friend as well as me. We'll call this guy Furry. This time, he was asking for my help because people hated him. Shocker. That he had changed, but people were harassing him. I held no grudges, so I gave up the game and I went to go help him. I used the party system to bring the people he was arguing with to talk to him. Asking ahead of time, of course. I would be the mediator, watching as they talked things out, and it did solve many issues. However, this happened with many people, and some were just trying to get out of it. Then came the final scenario, which involved one of my friends who used to be in my guild, and another one of my friends who had an organ issue. They tried to solve things, but this one was getting out of hand. I don't recall what went down entirely, but let's just say there was a disagreement and I didn't like how Furry was talking to this guy with the organ issue. What made things worse was when my friend, who was in my guild, was siding with Furry, which really split us into two. Eventually, the party did end, but the problem only grew. You see, before the final scenario, I said I didn't want to deal with the situation again, but Furry said, "You're a helper, you should be helping me," telling me that I should be doing my job. I had to swallow my pride and say, alright, because I really didn't want an argument over this. After the party ended, I ranted a bit in my guild chat about how this is ridiculous, how I'm being treated like this and everything. I was being told by my friend that I should just not be a staff member. I explained that I'd rather remain in the team, as I do enjoy the role I'm given, but the rebuttal was I could help people without the rank, and I know this is true, but there was more to being a helper than just helping people. The argument ended up with my friend leaving, and then my other friend left because he didn't want to deal with this drama. These two were my closest friends, and then I lost them. One other friend was online at the time, and he was so confused with what just happened. I kicked out my other old friends in this guild because there were other people in here. They were offline though. I didn't want them to come online just to see the state of the guild. I forced myself into limbo and I just sat in silence. Furry messaged me saying he'll fix this, but I didn't respond. I didn't want to deal with him anymore. He demanded I respond, but I didn't. He was getting impatient and blamed this all on me, how things are falling apart, it's my fault. But I didn't bother. Instead, I got up to wash my face and I forced the tears back in because, no, I'm not gonna cry over this stuff that's happening in a block game. I felt pathetic. But that was when I realized how dangerous being attached to people was. I came back to see the friend who was online in the guild message me to get on another guild's TeamSpeak. He explained that hearing a voice will help, so I did something that I don't usually do, and that was taking advice. Long story short, he tried cheering me up, brought in someone else who was a moderator at the time. This moderator tried to confront the person after I shared the screenshots of things that he had said, as well as logs of party chat that went down. But I told this mod not to do it. However, this mod knew it was the right thing to do, since Furry thought it was the right thing to trash a helper. I was afraid of the aftermath, but in short, this mod told him that if he doesn't stop, then he will be punished. Furry scoffed at the mod's threat, but this certain moderator reminded Furry who was capable of making sure of it. I was surprised with the logs the mod gave me with how this whole thing went down. Furry even thought I sent the moderator to him, and that was what had me crumble and groan, because he was like, oh, of course, typical musical would do that, and I'm just like, of course he thought that. The next day or so, I tried to move forward and I helped people out. That was when he decided to pick on everything I said just to get on my nerves in that lobby. He claimed that, I messaged him and asked what was his deal. He brought up the conversation with the moderator, claiming that I sent the moderator, to which I clarified that I hadn't and I just needed to talk to someone. He said he was there, but I didn't go to him, and I told him I just wasn't comfortable with him. In the conversation, he decided to tell me that he cut himself because of me, which made me stop typing. He cut himself. Do you realize self-harm? Someone just told you they self-harmed because of you. I read that line over and over again. He explained how he lost his friends because of me, how everything that had happened, how what he did to himself was all because of me. This ingrained in my mind. To think I was the reason why someone cut himself. To think I was the reason why someone wanted to kill himself. Instead of saying, that wasn't my fault, I told him I was sorry. We stopped talking again. I tried to make up with my two closest friends, talk to this one guy who I have an on-off friendship with, but whenever we'd have our conversation, they would last for hours. I managed to mend those friendships, but I feared getting close to them or anyone again. Bear in mind that the first situation with the suicidal person, I heard that he was crushing on another girl, so fortunately he moved on more or less. As for the second situation, we talked again last year because of a mutual, and it turns out he even forgot about those events. I forgave him anyway, but this will forever remain with me. I also, for the second situation by the way, I did talk to the moderator again, and the moderator said they didn't believe it. They think that this guy was just trying to make me feel bad, but it didn't really help because, like, I wasn't sure. It hurt to think that someone would do that. Now for the stuff I faced with the staff team while dealing with these people in the community. In August of 2015, staff were testing housing before it was coming out, so I was building my little bat cave, my first build in housing. I was in TeamSpeak with a few people plus this moderator who said he was getting a lot of bans simply because he was handling inappropriate drawing bans. These inappropriate drawings were sent to their system from those who reported drawings in pixel painters. This was during a time when moderators were not actively doing the staff chat reports, or when forum reports that reported users in the forum section were not even being looked at. They left so many pages for a few moderators to do. So hearing this moderator take pride in only handling inappropriate drawing bans, I decided to speak up and say, you know, you could get more bans if you helped with handling the reports. My friend heard that and poked me, calling me a savage. I felt heat rise in my cheeks out of embarrassment because I didn't mean to sound like a savage. The mod had no response to that either. Later on, the channel was filling up. I was continuing my build and I said something that I should not mention in this video because it gives away something mods have. Then the first mod said, "You'll have to be a moderator for that," to which another moderator stated, "Which you're never gonna be." I didn't think much of it at first until my friends started standing up for me, telling them to quit bragging about their rank, and another person agreed. They didn't think much of it, but instead talked about their moderator chat with another moderator who was in the channel, and that I was supposed to leave the channel, so I followed the two, only to hear them rant about the behavior. To get to the point, we ended up informing the manager, who explained that he'll talk to these two moderators, and there was another moderator present with the manager, who explained that the second moderator wasn't exactly in the right place, that he was going through a difficult time and all. The manager informed us that they were talked to later, which we were grateful to hear. Jump to the future, last year I decided to confront the second moderator about this matter, who said he doesn't even remember this. That had me confused, and I asked, didn't this manager talk to you about this? The moderator responded that he doesn't recall of this, but added on that he may have been drunk, so maybe he doesn't remember. I shook my head and thought, oh well, as long as he's improving as a person now, I was alright. I forgave him because I still don't think he was serious, and if he had been, then he would have made my promotion to moderator be a big deal, which he didn't do. Now, as for another mishap that occurred with a staff member, this was one that was quite minor and one I couldn't even fully recall. Basically, I got pulled into a staff manager lounge to see a moderator and the manager in there. I was pulled in with a friend. I don't remember much of what was being said to my friend, but it had to do with the same helper. But I do recall being told that I said something rude to a helper. They explained that in a staff meeting, I told this helper that he shouldn't help new helpers, which I explained I don't remember saying at all. They said that this was unacceptable and explained that, when this helper is available again, to apologize to him. Apparently, my friend had some situation with this helper too, just I don't recall what exactly. While waiting this out, I was talking to a few friends about this. They were surprised to hear how much drama I was getting sucked into, and I'm like, I know! I just want all this to end already! And they heard me rant, how unsure I was with what I said, or if I meant whatever it was that was said. I wish there was evidence of this so I knew I could be sorry for this. My friends told me to calm down, but I couldn't. I was panicking because I just made a helper feel unfit to help someone else. I said something nasty like that, and I was ashamed. When pulled into the lounge again, I immediately apologized, and the helper was relaxed. He just sounded chill. He said there's no need to apologize, and he accepts it. But it didn't feel like it was enough. My friend and the manager were proud to hear that I apologized, but it didn't feel resolved. So, I talked to the helper again, explaining how sorry I was, that I don't remember what happened, and he explained he didn't see it as a big deal anyway, that he didn't think it was an issue or saw it as one. He explained how he told a moderator about it, who saw it as an issue and brought it up to the manager. See, I still couldn't remember saying something like that, but I apologized, believing that just because there's no proof of it doesn't mean there's no proof of me not saying such a thing. Yeah, what logic, I know. I legit went so far just to find evidence, but I just couldn't find evidence. I was just like looking through my TeamSpeak logs. I was like, can I find this? No, I can't. I was even looking in screenshots. I'm like, was that helper even there? And I did not see him in any of the screenshots. And I'm like, was he even there? Or was I even there? And I was like, very, It drove me insane. So insane, you have no idea. Anyway, the end. As you can see, it was quite a party. Lesson for story number 1. I am not a specialist, I only try to be a friend. Next time, I should try to bring up hotlines, try to play a few games, but also try not to get too close. I have to draw a line. Lesson for story number 2. I was a volunteer. I don't get paid to solve someone's problems. If you're a staff member, then no. If you're not comfortable, then don't push yourself to help someone. Sometimes the battles people face are ones that they need to resolve on their own. You could do so much as a staff member, but you're no miracle worker. People are going to tear you apart because of you caring and because of your kindness. They will make you feel like crap. It's not going to be easy to build yourself back up again, but doing so will truly show your strength. One that attracts these kinds of people. This time, be prepared for them. Lesson for story number 3. Some people are idiots, but don't take what idiots say to heart, because they are idiots, and the things they say are idiotic, so you don't need to take it to heart. They're idiots. Lesson for story number 4. You may not recall what was said or done when someone brings up a mistake you've made, but remember to own up to them and understand that mistakes don't define you. Don't let them haunt you, but let them help you shape as a person. That is how I took it, at least. So, I may not remember what was said, or if I had said it, or if it's even true. Despite that, I learned my lesson. I learned that, honestly, one could take that situation just in many ways. One could just be stubborn and say, I did not do it, I'm not gonna be a pathetic person and just apologize for something I didn't do. But bear in mind, I don't even know if I did it. Maybe I did. Maybe I said something that may have sounded like that, but I didn't mean it like that. Because one thing I do know is that this helper was not active. He wasn't on often. So I don't know what I said. Had I said, oh, you're not, you shouldn't help the new helpers because you're not active, I don't know what I said. I don't remember. I do remember one thing. I think I remember I've seen him say one thing in the chat. And it was just one thing. I don't remember what it was. It was a question.
So like the monitor or the manager asked a question. The manager was there. How come the manager didn't see? Okay, now I'm whatever. You see, long story short.
Don't let them haunt you. Just don't let them haunt you. I need to take that lesson. Don't let them haunt you. You see, this wasn't haunting me before, but you see, now that I'm revisiting memories, I'm just like, oh gosh, that happened, right? This happened. Oh gosh, that happened. And it's just like, oh. But yes. Don't let them haunt you. I'm not gonna let this haunt me, obviously. After this, I'm just gonna be like, oh yeah, next story. Oh dear, this story. So, it's just easy to move on because the past is in the past. Yes. Oh wow, I did not go into 30 minutes. I'm so proud of myself. Oh my gosh, good job, me. And hopefully when I edit, it won't be that bad, so, yeah. Ah, gosh. I talk a lot. It's a lot of talking. But, you know, it's okay. I hope you all enjoyed this video. I hope you're excited to hear more, because holy smokes, this is going to be crazy. This is going to be very crazy. I'll just end it here and say thank you all for watching. If you have any questions, suggestions, or recommendations, please put in the comment section below. Please leave a like and maybe subscribe. Also, you don't need to turn on what's the plan once school starts. I have no idea as of now. I'm just hoping that whatever stories I have to tell, I can get them done immediately and then don't have to worry about it later. I'll have to think about what the future has in store for me, but not yet. These are just little, you know, if you guys are seeing these stories as big deals, bear in mind they're actually nothing compared to what I'm going to be facing quite soon, actually. So if you think these stories are wow, they're not. They're really not compared to what I'm going through right now. Because these stories, they're just so small. You have no idea what I'm facing right now. But they certainly did shape me into the person I am today. I know what is going to happen later is going to be one heck of an adventure. I'll tell you that much. But that's a story for another day, of course. Love you guys, of course. Have an amazing day. Peace.